that are expected to be arriving there as the day continues. President of Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Diakhar Faye, who arrived in the country yesterday ahead of the Mashujaa Day celebrations. We're also expecting Prime Minister of Mozambique, Her Excellency Maria Benvida Levi, to also be attending those celebrations. Just looking at today being a day where national heroes will be recognized, past and of course present, for their different contributions in the country, and also looking at reflections of this day and what the day means for the country. Mashujaa Day, of course, being born out of the 2010 Constitution, just at the significant shifts that have happened over the years, 60 plus years later. How has the country changed? How has Mashujaa Day been redefined in terms of the country's national identity, and also looking at, of course, the rule of law and constitutionalism, and how the country has honored the legacy of the heroes who fought, especially in terms of justice today, and in terms of the nominees, looking at the list of deserving persons there. Just taking a look at their different contributions in the society. Before we get into our guests in studio, just looking at the fact that this year's underlying theme of Mashujaa Day has energy access as a central theme in this year's preparations. The last mile electricity project that has power to homes, schools, health centers, and business hubs across the country. And looking at the host county today, looking at the developments there in terms of energy access. Of course, this being in line with the government of the day's administration's commitment to universal energy access and electrification, definitely proving to be a vital driver of grassroots transformation, empowering cottage industries, boosting healthcare delivery, and creating modern learning environments. We can say that, and we can authoritatively report that today, more than 90% of the electricity that powers the country's homes, or rather the country, comes from renewable sources, from the heat beneath our feet in geothermal fields to the strength of our rivers, the power of the wind, and indeed the warmth of the sun, that is for solar energy. And these achievements have definitely transformed lives in many villages across the country. Children now being able to study under electricity, light at night, families cooking safely without the health risk of smoky kitchens, small businesses from barbershops to milk coolers also thriving thanks to reliable power. So we'll be waiting to hear the keynote address there, especially around energy access. This, once again, just a reminder, being a central theme in this year's preparations, and the last mile electricity connectivity project also being a key talking point that is expected to happen in the keynote addresses. On your screens, you can see Royal Media Services' very own Mwana Hamisi Hamadi, who is one of the heroes that will be feted today during the Mashujaa Day celebrations, for her contribution in media, her long-standing service as well, and indeed a very proud moment for us here at Citizen TV to have one of our very own recognized there during the Mashujaa Day celebrations. Already people streaming into the Idokwe Stadium. This is a 10,000 capacity stadium, recently constructed and expected to host at least the 10,000 people that it can host today during the Mashujaa Day celebrations. We are expecting VIPs, dignitaries to be flocking there anytime now ahead of those celebrations. And we will be continuing to bring you pictures from there, even as we talk about the significance of this day for the country. With me in studio this morning, I'd like to introduce my guests to you. I have with me Joshua Nyamori. He's an advocate. Good morning and thank you for being with us. We're also joined by Eric Theuri, former LSK president, and Franklin Mukwanja, executive director, Center for Multi-Party Democracy. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
I'll begin with just getting your personal reflections on Mashujaa Day. What this day, the significance of this day is, what it means to you, of course, from your different capacities as advocates, as lawyers, and what really the significance of this day is. I'll start with you, Joshua. Let's look into past Mashujaa days and really the significance of today and what for you it means to you.
Yeah, Lillian, Mashujaa Day, in my view, is an opportunity for the country to reflect on where we came from and to celebrate our struggles, celebrate those who endured and sacrificed to bring freedom to this country, but also to appreciate how far we have gone, especially to live up to the dreams of those who struggled to bring freedom to this country. It gives us, therefore, opportunity also to look at the various epochs that this country has gone through, from the dreams of, independence to the dismantling of our democratic structures, the struggles to re-establish them, through which we, apart from the heroes like the Kapenguria 6, we now have new heroes in the struggle for democratization. One key amongst them being the one we just buried yesterday, Raila Odinga.
So learn mwaletea kombo ingine deadly. You have these two water dispensers courtesy of Sona. Once umeingia pale kwa app,
to make it more transparent, to give voice to the people, to ensure that there is devolution. And it brings us to a point where we are challenged as a nation to look back and find out whether we are true to the promise and the struggles of these people. So it gives us an opportunity to celebrate the heroes, but also an opportunity to reflect on the path we have followed.
For you, Eric, as well, are we true to the true spirit of Mashujaa Day? Your reflections on this day?
Obviously, Mashujaa Day is one of those days that, as a country, you want to look at the journey that the country has made, and sometimes and often there are things that are taken for granted, such as rule of law, such as freedom, are things that are easily taken for granted because you only notice how important they are when they are taken away from you. And so I think that today, as a country, you want to look back, recognize the heroes and the heroines who have contributed to the well-being of the nation state, to look at the progress, because we have made significant progress if you were to analyze the challenges that we have made, but also to reflect on the challenges that are there, and to take note of the fact that the price that everyone pays for freedom, for justice, is eternal vigilance. So that even though we have made progress, if we slacken, or if you don't keep up that fight, you don't keep up that spirit, there is a probability that you can always slide back. So I think that for every one of us now, you have to see how you will pick up a struggle, how you will contribute to the well-being of the nation, either through participation in building the economy, being a good citizen, the ethos of patriotism, and just being a good citizen for this country. And I think that it's part of the reason why today we see a number of Kenyans who are being recognized, not primarily because of their political contribution, but also for their philanthropic contribution to those that have contributed, to, for example, media and the growth of media. So it is a good opportunity for the country just to recognize those and to encourage others who are contributing to the development of the nation and recognize that achievement and to encourage more towards that.
Thanks for that. Franklin, have we made progress? Looking back to present day, Kenyatta Day, then now Mashujaa Day after the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. What are your reflections on this day?
First, my take on Mashujaa Day is a commemoration of heroism. It's a reflection on national identity. It is a discussion, a debate on a call to action on what we need to do in terms of our evolving heroism. I think it's been a mixed bag. Clearly, if you follow the discussions soon after the list of those to be honored was out, you could see that there was discontent, that we may not be firmly adhering to the Constitution in terms of our national values, in terms of our chapters on integrity. And some of those, I don't know whether they're still in there, but they elicited some real conversation on whether we're actually leading in the right direction in terms of what defines the identity of a Kenyan hero. But in terms of the positives, other than the challenges of how we've gone about the process, it's good that we have now a structure in place of how to even vet these individuals, how to make those final determinations, and how Kenyans can weigh into the conversation of whether Franklin deserves to be honored or not. We have expanded cast that net wider beyond the politicians, including just renaming from Kenyatta Day to Mashujaa Day, is casting the net wider and having that heroism really evolving and recognizing the farmers, cultural icons, young people, and professionals that are contributing to the country's progress. And I think it's a mixed bag of issues, but having the structure, opening up that conversation to even critiquing the work of the committee that recommends the people to be honored on this day is actually a good indication in good progress. We need to, in honor of the father of democracy, Raila Odinga, to firmly look at the Constitution when we're having this conversation, so that we do not elicit unnecessary negative reactions from Kenyans when proposing. And I think if some of those names are still on the list, it's an opportunity to reflect the post-Raila era and whether these individuals actually deserve, or we're actually soiling the identity of the heroes and heroines of this country.
Right, and gentlemen, I'll be getting your reactions to that, how the nation should legally and symbolically recognize our modern day heroes. Just looking back at the example of Honorable Raila Odinga, dearly departed Honorable Raila Odinga himself, a celebrated reformist. We'll be looking at those that will be honored, and the fact that there appears to be mixed reactions over who made that list. But before that, let's just take a look at the images that we are getting from Kitui. Again, just a reminder that this year's Mashujaa Day celebrations will be held in Kitui County at the Idokwe Stadium, and you can see members of the public have already arrived there in readiness for today's celebrations, as we await, of course, the arrival of other guests, dignitaries, VIPs, and indeed more members of the community to converge there ahead of the celebrations. Mashujaa Day Very importantly, a celebration of the country's heroes, past, present, and those lighting the way to a better future for Kenya. This day honors not only those who fought for Kenya's past, but also celebrates the everyday heroes building Kenya's future. Those are members of the public there, as well as, of course, other dignitaries and VIPs that will be arriving. We are made to understand that among the dignitaries that will be arriving there is the president of Senegal, that is President Bassirou Diomaye Diakhar Faye, who arrived in Kenya yesterday ahead of the Mashujaa Day celebrations. The Prime Minister of Mozambique, Her Excellency Maria Benvida Levi, also expected to attend those celebrations, including a host of other Kenyan leaders and from other parts of Africa as well that will be converging at Idokwe Stadium in Kitui County ahead and as the country marks Mashujaa Day. Let's cross over to Brenda Wanga, who is at the Idokwe Stadium as we get images from there. Brenda, today we're celebrating our heroes, but also marking a solemn moment in the country's national history as the country bids farewell to Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, whose burial took place yesterday. Tell us about the mood at the stadium today and from your interactions from the people that you've spoken to there. What is their definition of who a Kenyan hero really is? And we're looking at past and, of course, present. As you read the mood in the stadium, what are people saying about today's celebrations? And indeed, this being the first time that Kitui County is hosting the Mashujaa Day celebrations, and this being a newly constructed stadium. Tell us about the infrastructure, the preparations as we prepare to receive the other guests that will be arriving there for the celebrations.
Thank you, Lillian. Like you rightfully said, we are at Idokwe Stadium in Kitui County. Kitui being this year's host of Mashujaa Day. The mood here is quite exciting. People have been streaming into the stadium from as early as 5 a.m. This stadium, as at the beginning of this month, had been indicated that it was at 92% completion. Today, we see the stands are full. The people have been coming here from early as, like I mentioned, at 5 a.m. in the morning. 10,000 seater capacity. It looks like it will be full. Even as you speak right now, people are still streaming in. But like mentioned there clearly, this day belongs to the country's heroes, and you have quite a number of them here today. The committee this year decided to award about 184 Kenyans who they feel are deserving of that title of a hero. Right behind me, we see in the stands, a number of them have been sectioned. We see quite a number of them, all of them dressed in white, wearing scarves, and mention that they are the heroes of this year from different cadres of society, different sections of society. They will be telling us a bit about what has earned them this distinction to be amongst the privileged few who will go down in the annals of history as those who have been identified and honored as a country's hero. So, if I may just try and get some of their views as to why they feel they have been deserving of this honor.
My name is Robert Anderson from Kitale.
Okay, you are one of the heroes today. Why are you being honored?
I'm a farmer, but I'm also chairman of Mount Elgon Trust, and we do hospitals. We've got 4,000 children in school, hospital with 30,000 patients treated, orphanage, special needs, farmers training, so lots of things for the community.
So how does it feel for you being here today on Mashujaa Day and being one of the Shujaas of Kenya?
Fantastic. So honored. Really, really grateful. Thank you.
What does this mean for you? How does it propel you to do more? How significant is this for you?
Yeah, no, it's massive. You know, I always try to be low key, but suddenly I'm thrust in the spotlight, and I'm really grateful.
And it is a wonderful spotlight, especially on a day when the entire country is focused on those people who make Kenya count.
Really, it's wonderful. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, and he's not the only one here. Like I mentioned, we have about 184 Kenyans who have been given this honor. I will speak to mzee here. Perhaps mzee, jina lako ni nani na ni nini imekuleta hapa leo? Unaenziwa kwa nini?
Dr. Engineer Francis Kujiri Maina kutoka Nyeri County. Naenziwa kwa sababu ya entrepreneurship and industry, providing renewable affordable energy for characterizing industrial development of this country so that our youth can get jobs.
Hii siku ina umuhimu gani kwako wewe?
It's very important, particularly because of the unity of purpose which are found with all the people that are made together. And when we started doing this, we are going to have other people also who are in innovation getting involved and being serious. Patriotism is the key. And we shall get there. We have got very, very intelligent people, very resourceful people. What they need is affordable finances to do what they're supposed to do. That's a major challenge that we have. That our banks are going to believe in us so that they are going to give us the necessary finances to fast track industrial development in this country. We are ready, we are willing. There's a wonderful team which is here, which is committed and patriotic to move Kenya in the next generation.
All right, thank you very much. I see some very beautiful ladies here who are also wearing the heroes flag. Maybe just tell us who you are and why you're here today. What are you being honored for?
My name is Jana Kabande. I'm so delighted to be here. And today I'm here to celebrate with fellow Shujaas. And I'm being honored because of advancing the rights of widows in the country. For the last 12 plus years, we've been championing for the rights of widows under the organization Come Together Widows and Orphans Organization. And we are very delighted. And very soon, we are pushing for an act of parliament for widows in this country.
Why is it so important for you? How does this day resonate with you? You said you work with widows. How is the place of widows in Kenya right now as we speak?
The place of widows in Kenya is not like it was several years ago. As I was coming in, I was widowed young, and I lost my rights, I lost my dignity, and I decided to step up for women like myself. And of late, I've seen even widowers coming into the space and also claiming their rights, because sometimes we think men do not need to cry in public. But of course, we have given them a safe space in our organization where they are coming and they're starting to cry for their justice. And we have put this together, and we are coming up with a national legislation for widows that is being sponsored in Parliament by one Honorable Tende Apollo.
Nice. Madam, please, if you may tell us your name and why you're being honored today.
My name is Fatima Elmawi. I come from Lamu, but I work in Mombasa and Nairobi. I'm honored here today because I encourage businesses to work ethically. Kwa sababu Wakenya wengi, we believe that ukifanya kazi shortcut, ukifanya kazi without integrity ndio unakuwa. But the research is different. Lazima ufanye kazi na uadilifu. When you do business ethically, that is when your business grows, and that is when also the country grows, because the country is able to get more taxes from people and businesses that are registered.
And very important that you mention the issue of ethics, integrity, something that has been, many people say sometimes in Kenya, we lack a lot of that.
Yes, we do. The reason being, si wa Kenya tunapenda shortcuts. Sasa ukiambia upige laini, wewe unataka utoe kitu ndio uende mbele. That way, biashara hazikui. And research has shown that ikiwa biashara yako is being done ethically, wewe ni mwadilifu, you have more chances of growing by almost 300%. Na ndio maana biashara za Wakenya wengi ikifika miaka 5 biashara zinaanguka kwa sababu wanataka kuchukua mashortcut, hawataki kujisajili. Kama hujisajili, nobody knows you. Kama hujisajili, banks cannot give you money to scale. You need to register, and you need to give Caesar what is Caesar's.
Indeed, the importance of giving Caesar what belongs to Caesar cannot be overemphasized here today. But still, we're still talking to a few more heroes who are here today.
I'm Nancy Legwa, Mama Street from Nakuru County. I'm being honored for taking care of street-connected persons, the street children. I rescue, I rehabilitate, I reintegrate, I do empowerment and education, giving the street child another chance to live and to fulfill their purpose.
Yeah, very important. important work you're doing here. Like I mentioned earlier, today is also very significant for us because one of our very own is one of the Mashujaas being honored and celebrated here today. Mwanamisi najua umezoea kwa upande mwingine wa kamera, leo umepatikana. Tena nimepatikana siku ambayo sikutarajia, lakini nitasema nina furaha na namshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwa fursa hii. Manake ni fursa adimu. Wewe unaenziwa kwa nini leo hii? Naenziwa kutokana na kipindi chetu. Nitasema ni chetu, sio changu, cha Mwanamke Bomba. Manake unajua katika tajriba ambayo niko nayo ya utangazaji ya zaidi ya miaka 20, kuna vipindi vingi nimevifanya, lakini nilipoamua kumwangazia mwanamke, kumpatia sauti, naona kwamba ulimwengu kwa jumla na tukija haswa hapa nchini wameamua kwamba na wao wanataka kunivisha taji. Manake kama unavyojua kila Jumanne mimi husema leo namvisha taji mtu fulani, leo namvisha taji, lakini leo kwa uwezo wa Mungu kwamba na mimi niko hapa na vitwa taji kama Mwanamke Bomba. And you have been quite a champion of women's rights and women empowerment. So this being Mashujaa Day and you being honored for that must be something quite special for you. Naam, bila shaka ni kitu ambacho kinanipatia faraja kwa sababu katika kipindi cha Mwanamke Bomba kama unapojua ni kwamba sisi runinga ya Citizen tulipoanza ilikuwa tunajiita runinga ya mwananchi. Sasa mimi kadri tulipokuwa tukiendelea nikasema huyu mwananchi nitakuwa namshirikisha vipi ili na yeye ajihisi kwamba bado yuko katika Citizen. Ndio na sasa naenda chini mashinani na muangalia yule mama ambaye ana biashara, pengine anatumikia jamii lakini hajatambuliwa. Kwa hivyo mama anapoinuka, anapotambulika, anapokuwa na sauti katika jamii inanipatia faraja sana. Congratulations to you and all of the heroes who have been brought here today to celebrate this day, but there's so many of them. Like I said, 184 of them being honored today. Just this gentleman, perhaps you can tell us your name and why you're being honored here today.
Yes, I am Ambassador Dr. Jonathan Ojada. I am a Nigerian diplomat, well, president. It's a wonderful moment for me in my profession as a sustainable peace building diplomat. It feels so good that my works are being recognized, and I am delighted to be one of the heroes that have been selected to be honored today. Thank you.
Right. So like tumesema pale kwamba it's not just a Kenyan affair. We see even people from other countries being recognized for what they have done in the country. And like mentioned earlier, it is a whole range of people who are being honored today. And one of the people who is here today in that capacity is one person that many of us know from the arts sector, Zoakali. Unapewa
Brenda Wanga, reporting from the Idokwe Stadium in Kitui County, the host county of this year's Mashujaa Day celebrations. And she's talked to a couple of those that are going to be awarded today, ranging, of course, from Kenyans to persons, to non-Kenyans as well, for their different contributions in the country. These being the persons that have been nominated to be feted today in this prestigious award. And there's been controversy and debate over who deserves to make the cut in this year's conferment of these awards. Of course, mixed public reactions over the same. And Brenda Wanga there telling us that the committee awarded 184 Kenyans this year. And that is, of course, Kenyans who are going to be honored in this year's Mashujaa Day celebration. Remember, Mashujaa Day is a day to honor Kenya's heroes. And so we're just looking at reflections over this day. And just to bring you up to speed with the fact that the National Honors Act says, quote unquote, that a state officer or public officer who has made an exemplary contribution to the betterment of the national or county governments, the executive, the judiciary, the legislature, an independent commission, or an independent office. These are, of course, the people who, according to the National Honors Act, should be conferred with national honors. A state officer or public officer who has made an exemplary contribution to the betterment of the national or county governments, the executive, the judiciary, the legislature, an independent commission, or an independent office. The law further states that honorees should be individuals who have made outstanding contributions to the country or county in the economic, social, scientific, academic, public, administration, governance, sports, journalism, business, or security sectors, among those fields. So mixed reactions over this year's list. Again, just talking about the debate that is raging over who deserves to make the cut. And gentlemen, I'll bring you up to speed with the fact that Parliament has nominated 60 members of staff, 46 legislators, 35 members of the National Assembly, 11 senators. And some of these persons are people who have been questioned by security agencies over insecurity, others fraud. I want you to give me your thoughts around the Mashujaa Day nomination list, how you would assess the transparency, inclusivity, and credibility of the selection process. I'll have either one of you respond to that.
Lillian, one of the debates we had when I was at the university, in what we call a historical and current affairs club, was what Mau Mau was. So some of us took, the prism of Ngugi wa Thiong'o to celebrate Mau Mau as a national liberation front, whilst others took the position of Professor William Ochieng, that Mau Mau was a peasants group fighting for their, land, and it had nothing to do with the national liberation. The point I'm trying to drive is that another professor of mine once said that history is written according to the time and space of the historian. So therefore, your hero might not be my hero. And so in the national list of heroes, we are definitely bound to have, all the mix. In my view, the law, by providing, the committee that selects this and ensuring that the committee is representative of the various sectors and groups, ensures that we then have participation from the various groups, and that it should then be inclusive. And then I think one thing that should be done is that we need to enhance transparency. So that that list comes out early, there is debate about it, but then we should not get to the point where I decide that my hero must be your hero. We should be able to bring all our heroes, but then whatever heroes that then finally make it to the list should be heroes who meet the threshold, especially of Article 10 of the Constitution, the national values and principles. That's my view.
Terry, in your opinion, are we neglecting unsung heroes when you actually see political leaders, 60 members of staff of parliament, talking about 46 legislators, 11 senators, 35 members of the National Assembly, really taking a chunk of the positions or the awards that will be given today. What is your opinion around that as regards who truly deserves this recognition?
It's obviously absurd, and it's absurd because we appear to elevate political leadership and politics above the other cadres of, let me say, let's say, if you were to look at politics as a profession, we appear to elevate politics to a higher standard than any other contribution to the country. And I think politics, one, is important, but two, a lot of people, there are actually a lot of people who contribute positively to the development of this country that are not within the political sphere. And one of the other things that we want to look at, and looking at the Constitution and even the renaming of these national days and national honors, the idea behind it is to really recognize those that are contributing to the development of the state. And I think that a lot of times we lose focus on that, and we tend to look at politicians as the only people who are building the state. Yet when we actually look at the actions that politicians have taken, we see that they have taken significant actions towards destabilizing the state. If you look at the current parliament, for example, there is nothing of note that they have done to encourage the building of a state. You just look at some of the legislation that have come out of parliament, and you can see that the laws that parliament has passed, and some that have, and the number of times the High Court have had to declare most of those laws as unconstitutional. Unconstitutional. It tells you that parliament as an institution, to a large extent, has betrayed the constitution, has betrayed the trust that people have placed in them. And when now we are even having a problem agreeing as to who can actually be recognized as a hero, and when you have this list and it comes out and everyone is looking and is wondering what is happening, and the egos of politicians trying to elevate themselves is something that is betraying the spirit of Mashujaa, because a lot of people have actually contributed to the development of this country, and they are unsung, as you call them, and that is how it should be. So I look at everything that is happening, and I feel like it's almost like a scam, and it's a stain on the spirit of Mashujaa. And I think we really need to rethink that process and then to begin to tell politicians that it is not only them that contribute to the development of this country. And I think that politicians should actually only be awarded once they are out of the stage, so that we are able to evaluate their contribution. But for as long as they continue to serve, and some of the words that they utter, some of the actions that they take defy the principles that are actually in the Constitution.
Mukwanja, you started this conversation around this mixed bag of issues, and Joshua here has talked to us about public participation really being of importance when we look at this entire nomination process. So in terms of the role of who plays the role of defending democracy and public interest today, when we look at a list of heroes, something that should really come very easy had we made strides, this being 60 years plus of the celebration of Mashujaa Day, the present day Mashujaa Day, in terms of the onus of who then plays the role of defending democracy and public interest. Where does that onus lie? Who has the responsibility?
Of course, it's a collective responsibility. Individually, as Kenyans, we have the sacred duty to ensure that the corner of our society is better, it's fairer, it's more human. And the challenge we have is this exaggerated sense of self-importance by the political class, particularly the practicing politicians, that the good things that really happen, they have to take credit. And the wrongs that they do not want to right, but they want us all to underwrite the wrongs that they have done. And therefore, it's our solemn duty as citizens, and that is why I brought that out from the word go, that I am not happy if some of those names are still on that list, because these names defy freedom that we speak to about honoring Kenyans with those awards. It speaks to integrity. It speaks to justice. If leaders who are being honored are on that list, and they have advocated for shooting Kenyans on any part of the body, if they are on that list and they have been, judged by the High Court to have been corrupt, if they have taken suspected of taking Kenyans' lives. This defies all the principles and values that we have established in our constitution. It's not about freedom, it's not about justice. But this is the challenge that we have as a country, and we must be very keen as Kenyans. In the post-2010 era, we have seen a deliberate attempt to weaken core institutions. And if you look at, again, the challenge that we have with the process of picking these heroes and heroines is an issue of the executive overreach, where you feel that some people do not want just to stick to their job, but they want to influence the actions of the others. We have seen blatant disregard of the rule of law. And these are challenges that we must reinforce and speak to every time. That as long as Kenyans are not sitting upright and defending their institutions, it is very difficult to keep these processes straight and narrow on their path. And I want to agree with the former LSK president that a legacy of a political leader can only be written in the aftermath. Very few can, we can say they will remain consistent. That even right now, one of the things that is being debated largely is that did Raila Odinga pass on in the wrong company? And you could see the unspoken irony in the eulogies, that some of the people that were speaking highly, praising a lot of his selflessness, his altruism, Kenyans would take that with a pinch of salt, because they are the betrayers of the things that Raila believed in. And the true test of leadership is not much about how you lead, but it's about how you prepare others to lead. And I think this must be said time and again, and the overemphasis, not that the politicians really deserve, and I work with, in my democratic development work, I work with politicians, and there are some of the people that possibly dedicate their life, their career to public service. But we must distill these issues. We must speak truth to power. And we're saying that there's an overemphasis on the politicians. There's an overemphasis on politicizing the process of picking our heroes and heroines. And this is not just something that began yesterday. Even the naming of these days, Kenyatta Day, Mashujaa Day, are all in terms of just trying to shape that history to favor particular people who have the privilege of being when the process is being undertaken. And again, we must caution the mere fact that some of these legislators at this particular point must not interfere with the process and award themselves undeservingly. And Kenyans must rise up and speak to this. And that is why I brought this point from the Kenyan. I am not happy with the list, and we must revisit that conversation over and over again until we get it back.
Franklin Mokwanja, thanks for your thoughts. We'll cross over to Kitui County, where Melita Oletenges is on standby. We've seen from pictures there the arrival of other guests. Moses Wetangula, Speaker of the National Assembly. We've also seen Junet Mohammed, Minority Leader, National Assembly. We've also seen PS Raymond Omolo, PS Ministry of Interior. Of course, as more guests continue to arrive there, we will be telling you who exactly is there. among other dignitaries that are expected there is Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Diakhar Faye. He arrived in Kenya yesterday ahead of the Mashujaa Day celebrations. Also expected there is Prime Minister of Mozambique, Her Excellency Maria Benvida Levy. And we've just been looking at the reactions over the awards, those that have been awarded or will be awarded, 184 Kenyans this year. That is the list of those that will be honored, the number of those that will be honored. Mixed reactions over a section of politicians also finding their way in this list or making the cut to get this national conferment of this prestigious award. Let's cross over to Melita Oletenges and listen in on what's happening at the Idokwe Stadium, a 10,000-seater capacity, newly built stadium in Kitui County, which is the host of this year's Mashujaa Day celebrations. Melita, what's happening on the ground? Who else has arrived? And who are we still expecting to arrive as regards VIPs, dignitaries? What's happening in Kitui County?
Well, the Idokwe Stadium in Kitui is already packed with Kenyans who have come to celebrate the Mashujaa Stadium. Kenyans have come out in large numbers, and of course, we had the Ministry of Interior announcing that we're expecting over 20,000 Kenyans to grace this particular occasion. And of course, it's pomp and color here, even as Kenyans look forward to the activities of the day. Allow me to speak to a few of them just to know and feel the mood and what they are anticipating. Mzee, pengine anza kwa jina lako, tuambie wewe unaitwa nani, na hii leo siku ya Mashujaa kwako ina maana gani?
Majina naitwa Odinga Mtua. Na mimi nimekuwa hata kansula. Kwa hivyo hata mimi nasherehekea shujaa yangu sababu nishakuwa kiongozi mimi mwenyewe. Na leo ni siku ya mashujaa ambaye tunasherehekea mashujaa wale walianzisha nchi yetu beleni. Kama kina Kenyatta, Jaramogi, Odinga, akina Moi. Leo ni kusherehekea mashujaa kama hao. Tukiongeza Raila kwanza sana, tukipea kipaumbele Raila amepeleka nchi mbali sana. So yeye ni shujaa.
Pengine Raila Odinga, wewe una kumbukumbu gani kumhusu na pengine unamsherehekea vipi leo?
Mimi nasherehekea Raila sababu ile ametutoa, ametupatia vitu mingi sana. Kama zie hatungepata kitu kama katiba mpya, hatungepata hii bei ya chakula vile imekuwa chini ni Raila. Sema ni mambo mengi sana Raila amefanya nchi. Hatuwezi tukahesabu ni mengi. Na ameteseka sana mpaka wananchi wakae poa. Yeah.
Bado taifa linaomboleza baada ya mazishi yake hapa, na pengine wito wako kwa Wakenya kuhusu uongozi pamoja na viongozi. Ungetaka viongozi kuhusu Raila?
Mimi nataka viongozi waige mfano wa Raila wa kupenda nchi ya Kenya. So viongozi wale wako wote apart from vyama na ukabila wapende nchi yetu ya Kenya.
Shukran sana mzee. Pengine madam, tuzungumze tu na wewe kwa kifupi, unaitwa nani? Hii leo siku ya Mashujaa ina maana gani kwako na unaisherehekea vipi?
Jina naitwa Faith Moki, katibu chama cha County Government Workers Union. Wacha niseme kana kwamba siku ya leo ni Mashujaa ni kwa wafanyikazi wa county. Sijui kama tutasema tuna furaha yoyote sababu tumeyakosa mengi, tunapaswa kuwa tuko nayo.
Hebu nikuulize pengine siku ya Mashujaa hii kufanyika Kitui na stadium hii ya Idokwe Stadium, maendeleo ipi mmeona kutoka pengine kwa serikali kuu? Watu wamefaidika vipi? Biashara zimefaidika vipi?
Wacha niseme kana kwamba kama Kitui County tunafurahia developments kadhaa kwa hii county yetu. Sababu kwanza kabisa kupata hii stadium ni kitu moja maana sana. Hii ni kitu ambayo tutaacha nayo kama Kitui County. Apart from hii tumekuwa na energy week. Tutakuwa nayo kutoka Monday mpaka jana ndo tumemalizia na michezo. Tumeona miradi mingi kwa kawi ikikuja katika kaunti yetu ya Kitui. Na
Tenders move fast, and so should your bid bond provider. Bid smart with Branch Autobond by clicking on the link below.
Raila amefanya mambo mengi ya Kenya. Amesaidia sana Kenya.
Shukran sana kijana huyo ambaye anazungumza. Mama amesema hatapata nafasi. Mzee, pengine wewe unaitwa nani? Siku ya leo pengine shujaa wako ni nani? Kwa nini unaadhimisha siku hii?
Asante. Kwa majina anaitwa Cyrus Mwadha Kanyalu na nafurahia
Melita Oletenges talking to some of the people present there. We apologize for that sound glitch, but we'll be heading back over to him as we look at reflections around this year's Mashujaa Day celebrations, looking at, of course, some of the issues that will be highlighted there during the keynote speech, and also just reflecting on who truly is a Kenyan hero and who deserves to make that cut as regards being feted as a national hero that really reflects the values of the country, and what this day truly stands for. I'll just take you through a rundown of the program and what is expected to be happening there for the better part of this morning. The president is expected to attend this year's celebrations at Kitui County, this being at the Idokwe Stadium. His motorcade is expected to arrive there late morning, probably any time from now, and we'll be keeping out an eye on that. Of course, as you can see from your pictures, guests and Wananchi are already seated at the Idokwe Stadium. We're also going to be expecting the governor of Kitui County, Dr. Julius Malombe, to arrive at the Idokwe Stadium. Also present will be cabinet secretaries, the Chief Justice, and the President of the Supreme Court, Honorable Justice Martha Koome. We're also expecting, and that there is Deputy President Kitui Kindiki, who has just arrived there at the Idokwe Stadium, even as we await the arrival of President William Ruto. We're also going to be expecting the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Jeffer Kingi. We already had seen the arrival of the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, who has already arrived and been escorted to his seat. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has just arrived at the Idokwe Stadium in Kitui, and as of now, we are awaiting the arrival of the President's motorcade at Idokwe Stadium there in Kitui County. His Excellency, the President, is going to be escorted to the ceremonial vehicle by the Chief of the Defense Forces. And should he arrive with the First Lady, he will be escorted to the presidential dais, where he will proceed to, of course, greet the Wananchi as the celebrations of the day begin. We will continue with our conversation here in studio, even as we continue bringing you images from Idokwe Stadium in Kitui County. Just keeping an eye out on what's happening there as well, even as we look at reflections around today and what it stands for. To you, Mr. Nyamore, Mashujaa Day, just tying in the law and looking at the people who fought for it, those who uphold it. Looking at today's legal system in terms of course, this being a very significant day in terms of heroism, and just looking back at the past, we've seen court rulings overturned by political pressure or ignored altogether. In such a context, when we talk about the legal fraternity and really protecting what this day truly stands for and the spirit of this day, would you say that there is some slackening in legal activism, in the fact that not enough voices are actually addressing issues such as what we have talked about here, public participation, who has actually made the cut to be on this list? What are your thoughts around that?
Not at all. I don't think there have been more litigation than we have had since 2010. And I think as younger advocates who are more aggressive come in, we see innovation in the kind of litigation that we are having. And I remember the former Chief Justice after the 2010 Constitution, actually declaring that the period beyond 2010 for about 10 years will be the litigation years, and that is that we may need to litigate of the Constitution, and in litigating each and every article, settle on their interpretations and use such litigations to, evolve the states and ensure that we are able to hold leadership to account. And I think this is happening all over the country. County governments, national governments, parliaments, county assemblies, political leaders are being taken to court day in, day out. And that the Law Society of Kenya, but also individual lawyers, but also Kenyans who are not lawyers. We, for instance, have the celebrated Okiya Omtata, who his constituents then, took to the Senate, are litigating various aspects of the Constitution and various aspects of our laws. The question is that comparatively between the period before 2010 Constitution and now, are we having compliance from the leadership and from the state? I think that's the issue. I think compliance has increased. There's definitely elements of non-compliance, and there will always be a struggle between those duty bearers who would want to have discretion and the right holders who then use litigation and activism to hold them to account and ensure that they comply with the law and court orders. And we should just continue doing that.
Right. Yes. And Theory, you led the LSK during turbulent times, and I want us to look at the fact that Mashujaa Day is about honoring those who stood for justice and freedom. But looking at the Kenyan legal profession today, would you say that the LSK, the legal profession, is living up to that tradition? Like I put forward to Nyamori here, are we seeing a decline in legal activism? And do you feel that the LSK has truly played its role in defending the Constitution? When we look at, for instance, issues that Joshua here has raised around institutions violating court orders with impunity, what does that really say about our democracy?
I would want to say that I think in the last few years that not just the Law Society of Kenya, but also other civil societies have actually been at the forefront of holding the country true to the spirit of the Constitution. Although once in a while you have institutions that are not living up to its billing, and I think that's the greatest challenge that we face as a country. If you look at the design of our Constitution, it is done in a way that you create constitutional commissions, give them the independence, and give them the role of ensuring that the three arms of government then work in harmony, and that the spirit of the Constitution continues to prevail and to be an overriding national imperative. The challenge that we see, and I think the challenge that we experience now, is that you have a critical failure in Parliament, which is a very, very important institution in oversight. And then you have the judiciary, which is another arm of government, but the judiciary responds to issues when it is moved. So it does not, as of itself, correct anything that you can see if it is wrong. It has to be moved to do so. And I think the judiciary has been living up to its bidding. The Constitutional Commission, yes, we have a critical failure there. And so when you are in that kind of scenario and an executive that is extremely overbearing, you find that it is only maybe the civil society that can challenge some of the things that are being done and through the court process. But I think that on a day like this, we really need to sit as a country and reflect and ask ourselves, when will we ever achieve the promise that is in our constitution? I was listening to the eulogies that were being given of Raila Odinga, and truth, he sacrificed a lot for this country, but how many Raila Odingas are we going to have in our political establishment? Because they can get there, they can get to his stature if they just implemented the Constitution faithfully. And that is where we are having a problem as a country. The fact that our political leadership and our political philosophy is that the Constitution is only good when it is working for you. When it is against you, then it is not good. And I really hope that it will not get to this point where you always have to have civil societies and institutions such as the Law Society of Kenya always challenging laws that or policies or political directives that are constitutional, that we will get to a point where, by and large, most of the things that we'll be doing will be as ordained by the Constitution.
But looking inwardly, Theory, at the Law Society of Kenya, do you believe Kenya is producing enough legal heroes who are willing to confront power, who are willing to confront some of the issues that we're talking about here, impunity, fraud, people that have actually been questioned by security authorities over engaging in do we have those legal heroes looking inwardly who are willing to confront power and, or is fear or favor starting to mute the voice of the bar? Because truly you are the protectors of these citizens when we talk about public participation not happening. And I know that you alluded to the fact that it should be a collective responsibility, but looking inwardly, are we producing enough legal heroes?
Yes, we are. I was, intimately involved with a lot of young lawyers during the representation of the so-called Gen Zs. There were a lot of people that were arrested, maimed, and they were lawyers across the country who volunteered their time and their resources to bail out most of those people that were arrested in police stations. I remember in a place like Central Police Station, some lawyers were actually tear gassed. They were beaten up. But the following day, again, they showed up. And so they stood up and they and then they are young lawyers, very, very young lawyers, 1 to 2 years to 3 years, who even would contribute their own resources to bail out, like the young children who had been arrested by the police. So I think that where I stand, I have absolutely no doubt that we have a lot of heroic lawyers that are, challenging and would be willing